We're going to be checking the water supply piping for the flow and also to make sure that it's working in all areas of the house. We'll be checking to make sure that the drains work properly, the waste drain works properly, and the vent piping are all connected and working properly. We'll be checking to make sure the faucets are correctly attached. The hot water goes to the hot water faucet, the cold water goes to the cold water faucet, and that they're all working correctly. We'll be checking that the fuel gas piping is correctly installed, there's no safety issues, and that we're able to operate the different fuel operated appliances correctly. We'll be checking the water heaters to make sure that they're safely installed and working properly. Functional flow in the shower is making sure that the shower water does not greatly change in terms of the volume of shower water coming through when you flush the toilet or use some other kind of appliance. So we'll be checking everything in the house for functional flow and functional drainage. This is the water heater. Typically I start from the top to make sure that the venting is correct. I'm going to also check that the piping is correct and done in the right way. I'm going to check the straps here to make sure the earthquake straps are installed correctly and they're the proper type. I'm going to check the gas piping that comes in to make sure that's done correctly. Typically I'll turn on the water heater to make sure it works correctly and the vent, the flame looks good underneath. Also in this case there's a safety pole here so that it cannot be run into by a car. So we're going to check the general visual inspection of the water heater. The most typical thing that's wrong is that there's not proper strapping. I'm going to take a look at the temperature relief valve to make sure that it's piped out correctly to the outside, the correct kind of piping's put in there. I'm going to check and make sure the venting's in correctly, that it's not loose. Make sure there's no kind of backflow issue with vent gas from the water heater coming into the house. And do a good visual check to make sure there's no water leakage issues here. As I come into the bathroom, I'm going to check to make sure that the outlets work correctly and they're GFCI protected. Make sure everything's, all the mirrors are attached correctly. I'm going to take a look at the tiles to make sure there's no cracks in the tiles. Turn on the water and check underneath the sink to make sure that there's no kind of leaks or any kind of past leaks that are under here. A lot of times you can see moisture under there or what looks like black growth under there. Typically I'll leave that on for a while to make sure it doesn't make any kind of drips or leaks. Also check to make sure that the hot water is on the correct side and cold water is on the correct side. I also open and close all the drawers to make sure they work correctly. In this case there's another sink, so I'll also check that. On the toilet I'm going to flush the toilet and make sure there's no kind of water leakage. Make sure everything's working correctly. Put my leg up against it and give it a good push to make sure it's not loose at the floor. This one looks pretty good. And I'm going to go on also to the shower, take a look at all the shower tile, make sure there's no kind of cracks, no kind of water leakage. Down by the corner by the floor, if it was a wood floor, I'd make sure that that wasn't any kind of water damage down there. I'll go ahead and turn on the fixtures, make sure they work correctly, make sure the hot is on the correct side and the cold's on the correct side, make sure the shower works well. Also another thing we're going to check is to make sure there's enough water coming out even when I flush the toilet. This is a newer home so it's not an issue, but on some older homes actually it's a functional flow issue. You could be in the shower and someone will flush the toilet and then you'll get scalded by hot water, so I want to check that. Then I'll do a good overall visual of the whole inside of the bathroom.